put this into context for us, the departure of Chris Cox.
You haven't heard about Chris Cox as much as you've heard of maybe Sheryl Sandberg or Mark Zuckerberg, but he is so essential. He's at the core of Facebook. He was promoted recently to oversee all of Facebook's products, including Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger. But for years, he's been influential. He created the news feed. He's the one who runs the Monday morning orientation for new employees. He's basically the soul of the company. And he's leaving, which means to me that there are some tensions at Facebook about the future of the product. And he did hint at those today, saying that Facebook deserves somebody to take on the next step of product development who's very excited about this privacy-focused direction that Zuckerberg wants to go in.
So, Sarah, I mean, it does seem a little bit reasonable. He's been there for a while, and we know that Facebook is sort of at an inflection point with regards to its identity. But we did also see a few months ago the founders of Instagram and WhatsApp depart. And I'm wondering, is this more just a consolidation by Zuckerberg with regards to how he's going to run the company in the future?
Well, Zuckerberg has trusted Chris Cox for 13 years. I think that it just marks a new era in how Facebook is thinking about its product. This encrypted messaging vision, it's very different than what Cox has focused on in the past. He's all about newsfeed. He's about making sure that information is organized and personalized for people. And this kind of encrypted messaging is a different way of thinking about things. Facebook won't even be able to see what kind of content people are sending to each other, which, as I noted in my cover story for Business Week today, is a very dangerous thing too, because they won't be able to see terrorist content or child pornography or any of those horrible things that can get spread on the network too. So there are a lot of trade-offs in this new product direction, and maybe he was just tired.
Just tired. Chris Daniels, maybe just tired too. He's exiting, had been head of WhatsApp. Talk to us about who's coming to the fore, though. It's interesting that they've elevated the head of video, a female executive, to be taking over the reins of WhatsApp.
Fiji Simo is probably one of the most fastest rising executives at Facebook. She has been really instrumental to a lot of their newest products, like you mentioned, video. She's been in charge of the Facebook Watch initiative. So now she's getting to grow in prominence. And Will Cathcart, he was the one who took over Newsfeed after Chris Cox was elevated, and he's going to be doing WhatsApp from here on out. So really big changes at the top at Facebook, some of the biggest changes since we've seen them embroiled in the kind of continuous crisis that they've been in over the last few years.
Sarah, let's talk about that strategy shift more that Mark Zuckerberg talked about a couple weeks ago, with a greater emphasis on privacy and encryption. When might we start to see the fruits of that, where Facebook users are given more tools or avenues to communicate that are sort of in a more safer space than we think of as the news feed and the typical ways people use it?
The way that Zuckerberg framed this is that it's a new realm for Facebook to conquer. The newsfeed's not going away.
Right.
Instagram's not going away. They're just going to be these new messaging tools where you can message people between apps. Facebook thinks that if you're on WhatsApp, you'll want to be able to send a message to somebody on Instagram and vice versa. Whether people really want that is unclear, but it does a couple things for Facebook. It helps them figure out what your identity is across all of these apps, and it also helps them get out of this policing content problem, which has been so overwhelming for them over the last few years, and very difficult to do at the 2.7 billion user scale that they're at.